All right, everybody, welcome back to Hot Route Takes. And this is an important show, a big show for all of us. I think Christian and Brian previewed a little bit on the last pod, maybe in the description and whatnot on your podcast feeds. But we're going to be switching things up going forward. A lot of times we felt like we've been just regurgitating information, just reading off box scores and hitting and touching on the key plays and players of each game. So we kind of want to get away from that. As much as we enjoy watching all these football games, it is a tough task for three people to keep up with every single Sunday slate of games. So what we're going to try to do for you guys moving forward is pay attention to our own teams. I think that's something that each individual brings to this podcast, knowledge of their own team and how they stack up against the others, as well as the other teams in our division. Mine, the AFC North, Brian's the AFC East, and Christian, the AFC West. And all the other games, we will just hit on like key points throughout, give you real quick picks on our game preview picks for the preview pods. And on recaps, we will do very quick breakdowns on what happened. And really, the second half of the podcast episodes are going to be centered around statements and questions and takes that we each have. I think the formula we're looking for right now is one for each of our own team, an injury, a highlight, a position group moving forward and where that ranks and what the other guys think, as well as another take could be from any football team, any football player that we just want to discuss and have a more open-ended floor for each person to talk and maybe give a little bit more entertainment value for you guys that have been listening with us along, instead of, as I said, more regurgitated facts and statistics that you each can see in the box score. We want to leave debate and question and bring our own personalities out a little bit more. So I think this will achieve that. So that's just a breakdown of what we're looking for going forward, what you can expect in these preview recap pods. And we're going to try to be quick on this preview. This is week 6. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each game, quickly say our picks. Not much breakdown involved. If it's an AFC North team, I may give a few sentences. If it's my Ravens team, I'm going to give a few sentences, whereas Brian's the AFC East and his Dolphins, so on and so forth. Other games, we'll quickly say our picks, and if we need to say something, we will. And then we'll kind of get to the takes. I think that's going to be the juicy part of these episodes. So without further ado, this is a later recorded episode because of scheduling conflicts this week, really. So we're recording after the Thursday night game. That was between the Chiefs and Broncos, an AFC West matchup. So I'm going to throw it immediately to Christian, say his takes on it, his notes on this game, and then we'll move on into our game picks for the week.
I'm going to just say starting out this game, Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, I think there's a lot more going on behind closed doors. What's that's going to look like moving forward? Russell Wilson did have the 2 interceptions, but this is a Chiefs defense that, really playing a lot better than I think a lot of people expected them this season. And just on the Chiefs side, this is a Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce show. I think moving forward, and they go really as far as those 2 players really carry this team this year. We'll say they did it. The receivers more involved. Rice had 4 catches, 72 yards, but just as a fan, of the Chargers and looking on this side of the division with both of these playing, I just think the Denvers, we kind of know what we're getting, and me more so just what is this Chiefs team still to me? They've had some highs, but they've also had some lows this season. So just moving forward, I'd keep an eye on the Chiefs.
I like it. So we're going to move right into our Sunday slate of games, guys. It's the first one's my Ravens, London game, 9:30. Traveling, technically the road team, but in London, taking on the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to give a few notes and what I think, and we'll get Christian and Brian's picks for this game, and if any quick sort of note they may have along with it. My notes, you guys didn't get to hear me on the recap of week 5, and obviously, probably for good reason. I was going through it, watching that football game. I was at the Texans-Falcons game in attendance, so I had the Ravens-Steelers up on my phone. And, man, it was drop city. It was just shoot yourself in the foot. The Ravens, they play 2 opponents every week. They play their other opponent, which more times than not, they're more talented than. There's a few teams that I'm going to admit there's more talent on their other rosters. But more often than not, this Ravens team is more talented than their opponent. That certainly was the case with Pittsburgh. The other opponent is themselves. They keep fumbling. They keep dropping the football, which it wasn't a problem until last week, and they've got to get these things cleaned up if they really want to host the home playoff game. That's the difference between the margins of sneaking in the playoffs and hosting a home playoff game, pretty much. I think the talent's there, so I'm just looking for that to clean up and the offense to get on track with what this defense has done each week. And I mean, Lamar, highest graded QB last week, just to put in perspective what kind of performance he did. It sucks the game turned out the way it did, and I wouldn't expect a similar type of output against the Titans because they're so talented and well coached defensively, especially stopping the run. Passing is still a question mark, so they got to get things in tune there, and it could be a struggle. But I'm gonna pick the Ravens in a slugfest. They got blown out last time in London, but they had a 45-minute team meeting after the loss last week. I hope that pays off and they just get this train rolling because they're more talented than the Titans. They should win this game.
Yeah, so my game pick is Baltimore for this game. I'm picking Baltimore real quick. 2 words. Roquan Smith.
Love it.
Dang. Yeah, I'm also picking Baltimore. I was just going to say Baltimore's defense was going to be my just real simple. I think that defense is outplaying and really overperforming.
Yeah, it's been a top 2 unit all year. So we're on the Ravens. As we move towards the 1 o'clock slated games, it starts with the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta coming off a last-second field goal win. I was in attendance for that game. It was a very well-played game. Desmond Ritter had probably his game of his career. Can he back it up? I'm going to say he does. I think Atlanta wins this game, but I think it's more the Bijan show and ground attack more so than Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, I'm going Atlanta as well. And like you said, I think the success Desmond Ritter had last week opened up Bijan. So Bijan.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth, but I just think Atlanta and their defense has kind of been playing great. So I'm going to just put Atlanta's defense.
Love it. All right, we moving on to the NFC North matchup. We got the 1-4 Vikings and the 1-4 Bears. Could be a quick fire sale. The news headlining Minnesota right now. If things keep going south, Kirk Cousins could be on the market. Justin Jefferson just hit IR, so that's a huge question mark for this team going forward. A lot of notes on that team. And the Bears coming off their first win of the season. So I went back and forth really on this one, and I ended up going with Minnesota. I'm not too confident in this pick, but I'll just put money on Kirk Cousins finding a way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bears here, and I'm going to say because Justin Jefferson is on IR and not playing in this football game.
Yeah, I went Chicago Bears, and I'm going to just say DJ Moore.
Big game last week. Yeah, great note there, Christian. Big game last week, so hopefully that continues because Justin Fields needs that connection, and they looked to establish it last week. Hopefully that is the case moving forward. Next matchup is the Seattle Seahawks on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think one of the low under the radar game of the weeks, honestly. I went back and forth. I really think Cincinnati found something last week, but for some reason, I'm going to go with Geno and company to get a road win. I think if I'm not mistaken, they had the bye last week, so they got an extra week to prepare. I think that's important in NFL always, and I would expect Geno and the ground game, Kenneth Walker especially, has been pretty solid all year. That's my guy to look out for.
Yeah, I'm going to Seattle as well, and I'm just going to say Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I'm going to say Seattle, and I'm going to say running game as a whole.
Wow, love it. I mean, in the pick'em, it's 67% Cincinnati right now, so a little surprising all three of us on Seattle, but I like it. Moving forward, we've got the San Francisco 49ers looking like the most dominant team. I didn't get to love on them last week. I wish I did because they're proving everything I thought of them right now. 5-0 and a dominant 5-0. Traveling to Cleveland could be a trap game, but I believe Deshaun's still not playing. He's not. So I don't see if he was playing, I could see more of an upset, but until he's back in the lineup, Cleveland may be struggling here. I'm going to 49ers. I'll be surprised if Cleveland puts up more than 10 points.
Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers here. Cleveland does have a good defense, but I think they're going to have a hard time moving the football. So 49ers defense.
49ers, I'm going to say PJ Walker. That is who expected to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. So that's why I'm going 49ers.
Yeah. All right, Brian, we're going to set you up for this one. The Carolina Panthers, the only winless team in the NFL left, 0-5, traveling to your 4-1 Dolphins. What's your notes on this game?
Yeah, so I think a big part of this game is the lack of Connor Williams not playing. You would expect Miami to win this football game, but if Carolina does have an opportunity to maybe make a difference here, it is with their front seven with a lot of talent. Brian Burns up front, although he is questionable for this football game, and the interior Derek Brown, he's a menace, and he'll be testing Liam Eichenberg, who has struggled greatly so far in his career, and he is starting at center. This is only his second game starting at center, so that's important note there because Derek Brown is no slouch. But I do think Miami will win this football game. I think it comes down to the secondary for Carolina being beat up right now. I do not think J.C. Jackson's playing yet, and Von Bell is out. So that's a big loss for them in the secondary. And, Tyreek Hill's been explosive all year. I expect that to continue in this football game. And then defensively, I think Miami's going to dominate the line of scrimmage. They're missing their right tackle, I believe, in this football game, and which that's a big loss against a good front like Miami has. So Miami, and I think they'll cover the spread of 13.5 points.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. It's not often in the NFL you see a 13.5 point spread in a football game, but if there's a matchup this week that calls for it, it is this one. I've got Miami pretty big. Offense, a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm going definitely Miami Dolphins, just offensive weapons.
Yep. All right, we're going to move on to a interesting AFC South matchup. But both 3-2 teams, not necessarily one that we expected. We've got the Indianapolis Colts traveling to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville coming off an impressive London win against the Bills. I think that's kind of springing some momentum for them. I like this offensive unit a lot more than the Colts right now. So I've got Jacksonville and T-Law having a big day and a big win.
Yeah, I'm definitely going Jacksonville as well, and I'm looking to see Jacksonville take another step and on this defense just playing consistent week in and week out because they had a heck of a game last week against Josh Allen and company. So Gardner Minshew stepping in the lineup, maybe not as much to offer as Anthony Richardson, the added value he gives you on the ground, but he's still a capable quarterback, and they'll need to be on their P's and Q's to win this football game. And that's just what I'm looking for as Jacksonville continues to get better. But Jacksonville defense.
I'm actually going with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to say two-headed monster in the backfield, and also on the Gardner Minshew, just a quick note. I just think when he has been in, the passing offense does look a little bit better and more opened up. So just something to keep an eye on moving forward.
I like it. Another interesting game we got coming up. We've got the Saints traveling to Houston, 3-2 Saints against the 2-3 Houston Texans. As I said, I was in attendance last week to watch C.J. Stroud, and just more and more I watch this guy, especially in person. That he can make all the throws. He's a very impressive young man, and I think the Houston Texans have a great franchise quarterback in their system right now. That said, I think the absence of Derek Stingley is pretty noticed, especially when you get lit up by Desmond Ridder last week. I think Derek Carr can do the same thing, and for that reason, I'm picking the Saints in this football game.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Note here, Tank Dell and Robert Woods are both questionable for this football game, which is a big loss for this Houston receiving corps. But I'm still going to pick Houston in this football game, and because it's C.J. Stroud.
I'm going to go with the Saints in this one because I'm going to just say the Saints defense.
Like it. Yeah, they've been playing sound all year. All right, so that's all for the 1 o'clock slate. We're moving down to the 4 o'clock slate of games this week. First one's going to be the New England Patriots traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders, an AFC West team. So, Christian, if you have any notes on this game and what you think the Raiders will do, go ahead and share them with us.
This is both
Jacoby,
me and Christian's game.
Yeah. I'll keep it on the Raider side, just Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
That's why you think they're going to win?
No, that's just what I got to say on just this team right now. They're just going through those two players just offensively, and it's really working.
And Josh Jacobs, it's actually been pretty decent. And Max Crosby's a game wrecker on the other side. And it hurts badly to have Cole Strange missing, Riley Reif, and Tyrone Wheatley. I believe that is all three starters on their offensive line. And Max Crosby is not anything to play around with. So I'm still going to pick New England in this football game, okay? And it blew my mind. I really didn't want to, but I'm going to say there's no way Bill Belichick loses 3 weeks in a row and loses to Josh McDaniels.
There was a lot of reasoning that I agree with there, Brian. All the controversy and your take earlier before the football season started that Bill Belichick could quietly be on the hot seat. There's actually noise about that now that's
Yeah,
coming to fruition. But all those things said, I feel like you feel that Bill Belichick will find a way and all these other things,
I do.
especially against a guy who was under his coaching tree.
And
I
not a
could,
very talented
I
team in
went
their
back
own
and
right.
I know I went back and forth, but I think those injuries that pointed out against this Max Crosby led defensive line, I think that's enough to get the Raiders the win at home. Not super confident, but at the same time, the Patriots hadn't given you much confidence offensively these last 2 weeks. The who was it they gave? Was it Juju gave the same contract that Jacoby got from Vegas? And you just look at
Yep.
the production side by side; it's night and day. Um, they're
Christian was on
telling
that.
yeah, very, very, very telling stuff right now. So New England's looking like a high draft pick right now. Who knows? They might luck into Caleb Williams if they really, really try to tank this thing the rest of the season. We'll see. So unless you have any more notes on that game, we're going to move forward. We've got let me see. Christian, you had Vegas, right? And Brian, you had New
Oh,
England.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Just making
Raiders.
Yeah,
sure.
I had New England.
Okay, wanted to get that on record. All right, so we move on. The 425 game, we got a 4-1 Detroit Lions team traveling to the 3-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think more interesting matchup, low key interesting matchup of this week. Christian's all over Baker. He's loved Baker from the beginning, and a 3-1 start for him is proof that maybe the rest of us undervalued him, and he's playing with a chip on his shoulder that maybe he does deserve to be a starter, and he can lead this Tampa Bay team to a division title. Who knows? I think Detroit's a very complete team. I actually teaser right now. My other NFL take is going to be on this Detroit Lions team, so I'll break that down later in this podcast. But for today, for right now, I'm picking Detroit and Jared Goff and company have a big day.
Okay. Yeah, that's completely fair. I think if there is a weakness on Tampa Bay's roster that you can really point to, it is related to the line of scrimmage, particularly their offensive line. But I'm going to definitely say Detroit's offensive line can get after this defensive front. And I think that's just what's going to happen. That's what they've been doing this year. That offensive line's been dominating. David Montgomery's been running downhill. But I'm going to go Detroit Lions because of David Montgomery.
Yeah. I went back and forth, but I know Mike Evans, is just a quick note, is playing in this game. He did have the injury for the bye week. It was, I believe, a hamstring injury. So with an older player said that it kind of does linger around for a little bit, and that ultimately is why I went Detroit Lions, just because simply Mike Evans question.
I like it. Moving on, we got an NFC West matchup in the slate window. The 1-4 Arizona Cardinals traveling to LA to take on the Los Angeles Rams. I'm not going to dive too much deep into this, but give me Rams. Cooper Kupp looked good last week, and I think the tandem of him and Puka are going to have a big year. So Rams.
Yeah, I'm going Rams as well. Matthew Stafford, man.
Yeah, I'm going Rams. No James Conner on the Arizona side.
Love it, love it. So our last late window game in the 425 slate is the Philadelphia Eagles, the second only the one of two undefeated teams traveling to New York MetLife to take on the Jets. The Eagles have looked sloppy, and they're not like the Niners 5-0. They're much sloppier wins this year. That said, they're still wins, and I think this defensive unit is one of the best in the NFL. Continuing to showcase that week in week out, and I think Zach Wilson will be under a lot of duress. Maybe potential benching in this game. I think the Eagles could have their best performance of the year. So give me Eagles big.
Okay. One big note here, because this is an AFC East team. They are playing the Eagles without Jalen Carter, and that's a big deal, and Darius Slay. So this opens up for maybe some offensive something. I don't know. I'm still picking the Eagles in this football game, but the Jets have shown life here and there on offense, and this defense has been outstanding. The Eagles have been sloppy. I think this defense could potentially take advantage of some sloppy play by Jalen Hurts. So there is potential for the Jets to cover the spread here, but I'm still going to go with the Eagles. I just think there's too many ways they can beat you.
Man, I actually went with the Jets. I'm gonna talk real quick. Just we seen what Patrick Mahomes got turned into against this Jets team, and Jalen Hurts has not shown that he can really lead this team to a win. I think that's what the Jets are going to ultimately lead to. It's not going to be a swift show because their defensive line is going to make them have to pass against this Jets team. So
Yeah.
ultimately, I'm gonna just go Jets because of their defense.
Wow, interesting one. Upset pick of the week. Just 4% picking the Jets in this football game. Our pick 'em. So kudos to you, Christian. Go out on a huge limb there, picking the Eagles to have their first loss. We're going to move it on to the Sunday night game, which is the New York Giants traveling to the Buffalo Bills. As we know, AFC East team. Brian, you know a lot about this Bills team. What are the notes you have for this game?
Well, one thing I do know is Miami just played the Giants last week, and I know their offensive line is struggling badly. We sacked them 7 times a week prior. They got sacked 11 times, and Daniel Jones is not playing in this football game. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor. I think this defensive line for Buffalo is going to really get after him, and it's going to get ugly quick. And, I'd be punching Buffalo all day on this one.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. Bills coming off a loss as well. Pretty motivated to get back in the win column. Give me Bills big. Stephon Diggs probably has a big day if I had to guess.
Yeah, Bills big.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo and just wide receiver group as a core. I think Gabe Davis has low-key been under the radar on how good he's actually playing this year.
Yeah, back-to-back good
Yeah.
games for Gabe Davis. Great note from you there, Christian. The last game is going to be Christian's Chargers. They are hosting a Monday Night Football game against the Dallas Cowboys. If I had to circle back from the Seahawks Bengals game, I think this one is the other game of the week in my opinion. Cowboys 3-2, Chargers 2-2, coming off a bye week. It's 49% picking the Chargers right now, 51% picking Dallas. Dallas and their 2 losses have looked very bad, but the Chargers, they're finding a way to string some stuff together. And despite injury, the Mike Williams injury, I've got the Chargers winning this game. I think they're a more talented team. I think it's very close. It is very close, but I think Justin Herbert's definitely the more talented quarterback, and at the end of the day, that's what's going to win them this football game.
This one's really tough, man. I think in order for the Chargers to win, it's going to have to be a shootout. And in a shootout scenario, Michael Parsons and Rashawn Slater are going to be going at it, man. Last week, they played the 49ers, and they just consistently put him over Trent Williams. I hope to see them move Michael Parsons around a little bit, although I do think the Chargers will win this football game just because Keenan Allen's still out there. Justin Herbert's been slinging it all year. I'm going to continue to go that way. So Chargers. Oh, we should have sent it to Christian immediately, huh?
Yeah,
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
My big thing just this week is one going to be Kellen Moore. I kind of been beating that drum, and this is now you're talking about an offense coordinator. It's kind of been around this group that they have still in Dallas. So I think they maybe can help this defense this week, and he kind of say, hey, this is what, when I was there, what they wanted us to kind of do, and now Mike's calling plays. It's not been impressive for the Cowboys. I can at least say that, but I will say after Dak Prescott, I want to see how he bounces back after a terrible showing. But I will say Justin Herbert said the finger's not going to be a problem. But the only thing that kind of scares me with that is he's not taking shotgun snaps until Monday night. So that's something to look forward to. But I'm pretty sure Austin Eckler will be playing this game. He said he will be 100%. So I just think maybe our offense get up and moving to not 100% without Mike, but we'll see what we kind of seen the first couple of weeks out of this Chargers team. So I'm definitely going Chargers.
I think an interesting storyline that I didn't hit on was CeeDee Lamb. There's a lot of talk in his lack of production so far this season. And with a Chargers secondary that's been a little susceptible so far this season, I could feel like they could make a conservative effort to target him a lot. So we will see. That's honestly one of the biggest games to look forward to in Week 6. So I'm excited to watch it in primetime spot. All right, so that's all our game picks. I think we did a good job. We kept it relatively short, just under the 25-minute mark, so not too bad. That'll leave us maybe 20 minutes or so to give 10 minutes on our first take for our own football teams and maybe 10 for our other one. I'll start us off with a Ravens take here. I kind of went back and forth on some directions I want to go. Obviously, the talking point last week was the receiving core and the drops, and that was an issue. But I'm going to steer it to the other side of the football. And one I've got for you guys, I want to hear your opinion on. Right now, I'm going to have Roquan Smith finishing in the top 5 of Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he has a shot at winning it because it's such a sack-driven award. The guys that make those type of impacts in the game usually get the nod for a winner. But my reasoning for Roquan finishing top 5 is I think this unit is a top 5 unit. They're second in the NFL in a lot of categories right now, and Roquan is the key driver of that. I think they finish in that top 5, and I think he'll lead the team in tackles. He'll have a few number of sacks, and he's the emotional leader of the defense. Things have changed since he come over. So that's my take for the Ravens this week. I just want to hear your opinions on Roquan and where you think this defense is, and maybe if you see him garnering some national love with Defensive Player of the Year voting.
Okay. I think very highly of Roquan Smith, although I'm kind of on edge right now because you got TJ Watt, you have Myles Garrett, you have some other players that are almost like surefire locks. You know what I'm saying? And then so far this year, the Ravens have played the Texans. They have, a pretty good team, but, so-so offense, I would say. Bengals with Joe Burrow being hurt, the Colts with a rookie quarterback and Gardner Minshew, and the Browns, we don't really know about the Browns, and then Pittsburgh. So I don't want to get ahead. I like Roquan Smith, and I think Baltimore's playing really well. But before I say something like that, I want to see them play Detroit in 2 weeks, and Seattle later in the year. You know what I mean? Just to kind of reaffirm, because it's so much talent on the defensive side of the football in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is I think that he is a great player. And kind of what Brian said, just the defenses y'all have played and just, looking back and seeing who has won the award, the only linebackers that have won it was TJ Watt in 2021. And then to see the next linebacker, you're looking at 2013 Luke Kuechly. So it's like you're
really
saying,
edge
more.
rusher.
Yeah, that's what I said. But Luke Kuechly's been your last legit linebacker that's won it, and that was 2013. I feel like that award now is not just for sacks; it's more for you've seen corners now kind of get in the mix for that award. So before you see your traditional linebackers, my argue for that would be, Fred Warner, 49ers. I'd put him up there before Smith, just because they're making him guard wide receivers this year. He's doing everything for their defense this year. So I think there's nothing against him, but just if you look at that position, there's players at other places that are having a bigger impact for their teams than he kind of is.
I
would agree that Fred Warner in my mind is the best inside linebacker in the game, but I think Roquan's not too far on him. He's a close second, in my opinion. But maybe a question we should have garnered this question a little bit more in a different direction because the offenses we played so far this year. Do you think this Ravens defense is a top 5 unit at season's end? My vote now is yes. I just see a lot of great coaching and a lot of great talent everywhere on the defensive side of the ball. So I vote yes. What say you guys?
I think they're flirting with it at the very least.
They're second as of now in a lot of categories. But I know there's Pittsburgh, there's San Fran, there's Philadelphia, there's the Jets. There's a lot of great units out there. But a top 5 units, it's within reach for this defense, I think.
So San Fran, the Eagles, Jets, any other ones that you feel like are right there with them?
You could argue maybe the Lions is my only thing. The Lions have been playing
pretty
great defense.
What about Dallas? Are they there or no?
God, after the 2 losses, it's hard for me to.
It's early in the season, bro. We can't.
It is. But I'm just thinking what I'm seeing right now.
And without Diggs, I think that really does. He was the game record, the interception, the guy to get those turnovers. And
I agree there.
Parsons is wreaking havoc with sacks and strip sacks. I don't see that defense just training out the turnovers that they normally would. The Ravens, for whatever reason, they get that by committee. They get turnovers by committee and sacks by committee. Since Terrell Suggs kind of went in the decline of his career, we haven't had a sack leader type rusher, but we always finish in the top 10 of sacks because we just get it from great schemes and stuff like that. So I think the coaching, Mike McDonald, heck of a coach. I think he's got, if Harbaugh would retire in 5 years, I could see him taking that job. He's a very well-respected coach in that building, and I think he'll garner head coaching interviews if he wants them. He's a great young mind. But unless y'all have anything else for the Ravens defense and the take that I had this week, we'll move on. Either y'all care to share your Dolphins or your Chargers take, whoever wants to take it.
Well, I would say that with the Ravens, I am optimistic that it will happen, but I'm going to take the field. That's kind of my approach.
That's fair.
Okay. Should I go next for my take?
Yeah, take off.
All right, so are the Dolphins a top 3 team in the AFC?
I I say yes. I say yes.
Let me think, man. Chiefs. Then yeah, I mean,
Buffalo?
the only thing that scares me, yes, is the Buffalo game. But y'all play them again, so I would say the Buffalo game has a lot of weight on. If y'all win that, definitely a top 3. But if you look to that game and y'all lose that one to them again, I'm gonna say right now how it sits, y'all are definitely probably a top 3 team.
I'm gonna say this because the Dolphins have a whole side of the football that you can bank on being great every week. Like their bad offensive performances are like 24, 27 point outputs. Like
Yeah.
you can having that to bank on every week makes your life so much easier. And I think the upside with the defense, that's where it leads to being a contender, Super Bowl contender. Right now, no one's looking dominant. I'm going to say it right now. I think the 49ers are the most complete team. They look the most dominant. The Eagles are 5-0, but they look a bit sloppy. That's in the NFC. You move to the AFC, the Chiefs have a great record, but they haven't really put together any type, besides the Bears game, and we know how bad the Bears are. They hadn't put no type of firepower on offense together.
Yep.
So there's a lot of question marks. Like the landscape of the AFC is a lot different than what we thought coming into the year. There's a lot of good teams, but at the same time, these teams can be beat on any given week. So if I had to vote right now, I'm going KC, Buffalo, Miami as the top 3, but those can really interchange at any week.
Yeah, so I guess my take on it is I think the top 3 are all fluid and they have separated themselves from the rest of the AFC. And that is what I think. I think it's Buffalo, Miami, Kansas City, and you can put them in any 1, 2, 3 you want depending on the week. If Miami continues to stay healthy, Jalen Ramsey comes back, Jalen Phillips comes back, and this defense continues to gel with Vic Fangio at the helm, and it's been great. Last couple weeks, granted, we haven't had very high levels of competition, but you can only play the games in your schedule, and they've looked good. And I only anticipate it looking better with the arrival of Jalen Ramsey on this defense. And then you talk about a 1-2 punch, man. We got a 1-2-3 punch at corner because I think Cater Kohu is one of the better nickel corners in the NFL right now. So between Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, and Cater Kohu, with the corner position and Javon Holland in the secondary, I think that Vic Fangio can get really creative, and our defense could take a step later in the year, especially if Jalen Phillips is what I think he is, and I think he's going to continue to blossom, especially in this defense. Bradley Chubb on the opposite side. I'm very excited about the defense. That's really where I was leading with this take. But Buffalo and Kansas City, they got elite quarterbacks, man. They got the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL for my money. And you never know what week in, week out, those guys can single-handedly almost win football games for their teams. So you never can count them out. But right now, with the way all 3 teams have played in the full set of games, I think Miami actually has the most impressive resume right now. But looking at the big picture, I think it's pretty fluid, man. You can put it 1, 2, 3 any way you want. I'm probably going to be okay with it.
I'd say, try to get it in quickly here, but I'd say that you're comfortable with that your team in that top 3, but you would admit that any of those 3 teams can be beaten.
Yep.
Which other AFC team do you think poses the biggest challenge when they're right, and is knocking on the door of that top 3?
Let me think. So the ones that do come to my mind, obviously the Chargers and Ravens did. Is there any other team that I can even consider? I don't want to leave anybody out.
I mean, the only team that you can
Jags,
say leading their division, yeah, I was about to say
Period.
Jacksonville and
The
Colts.
Bengals, I still believe in them, man.
yeah.
I really don't care. I still believe in them as a football team when they're healthy, and they
Mm-hmm.
could come back later in the year, not have as good of a record, but still be dangerous in the playoffs. But really, those are the only 3 teams that I really look at and say, yeah, they are competitors and they can compete with the cream of the crop in the AFC. I think it's all 3 of them. I don't think it's one
So Bengals,
until we get more
Ravens,
information at least.
Chargers. Bengals, Ravens, Chargers. You don't think the Jags are in that conversation? You there, Brian?
Yeah, my audio went out for a second. What'd you say?
Bengals, Ravens, Chargers. You don't think the Jags are in that conversation to knock in on the door?
Oh
Top
yeah,
so four, those four.
yeah, man. I think all four of those teams are competitive enough to compete. I can't really separate it right now. I kind of tiered it out as tier 1 and tier 2. It's only week 5, and some of these teams have played pretty soft schedules, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. So
Yep. All right. I think that was a good question, Brian, and a good take for your Dolphins. Christian, you'll finish us off here with your Chargers take this week.
Mine's just going to be on the offensive side with, Austin Eckler coming back. The running game's not a problem, so that's now going to create your problem that we knew we'd ultimately have with the Chargers. And who will be that wide receiver to step up to be that Mike Williams that we've seen Quentin Johnson come in, just not be that productive. He has had some drops already. And then Joshua Palmer didn't look like that guy until, the end of the game when we had to throw the deep pass up to get the first down to ultimately win the game. So if you had to pick out of one of those two guys, who do you think would maybe take either that wide receiver 2 spot or be, I guess you can say, quote unquote, the Mike Williams guy in this offense?
I think Austin Eckler is a big bonus to the offense, and he will take some of that target share, kind of like how we did last year when you guys were out of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Y'all funneled the offense a lot through him, but I am going to pick Quentin Johnson. I think he's a talented player. I think he's got a lot of upside athletically, and I think Justin Herbert can win down the field to Quentin Johnson with his game-breaking speed. I have yet to see it really, but I think that could be an evolution for the offense until Mike Williams can come back.
Yeah, this is where I really wish the Chargers went out and drafted someone like a Sam Laporta, or even in free agency. I know there's not many guys out there, but a difference-making tight end, I think Justin Herbert could have a lot of success with. Open up the middle of the field and stuff like that. That's disappointing. They don't really have that on this roster, so you lean to Eckler taking some of the load off of the second wide receiver, and I went back and forth. I think Palmer has a little more of a chemistry with Herbert right now. But the upside of Johnson is where I went, and I'm on the same page as Brian. I think the speed will start to show itself in these coming weeks once he gets more established with his route tree and what NFL defenses are trying to do to him at the line of scrimmage and on the press and things of that nature. So I would look for him to step up, and Herbert's going to get the ball to whoever's open. Keenan Allen's still the number one guy. They can have plenty of success that way. So it'll be by committee probably week to week, but if you pick a guy by season's end to maybe finish with a higher total of yards and more impact, I'm going to go with Johnson.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think just Quentin Johnson as a player, he's going to have to be. We spent one of the draft capital on him to be that guy. So now it's kind of, when that pick got selected, all three of us said that pick is for when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams go down, and kind of, we didn't jinx it, but we kind of knew just with the Chargers history it was going to happen. So then that kind of how the cards fell. So I was just curious. I will say Davis is another wide receiver they're getting involved with the running and passing game. I don't think he would get that big of a share just because one is size, but all three of those wide receivers, I'll kind of be, looking for the next couple of weeks and seeing what and how Kellen Moore use those guys.
Yeah, very interesting. I like the question there, Christian. So we're going to finish it off. We're a little under the 40-minute mark, so I think we can have our NFL take and maybe spend 10 minutes on that, and that'll probably be the time frame we're looking at for each of these podcasts. I think it's a better job for our listeners and whatnot to have a shorter pod to tune into weekly, and I'm excited to put that out for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to give my NFL take of the week on any player, any other team that we're going to bring to each show each week. I teased it earlier. It was this Detroit Lions football team. I have a lot of belief in them. I think they're going to upset one of the Niners or Eagles in the playoffs. I would lean Eagles the way they're playing right now. And I think the Detroit Lions make the NFC Championship game. That's my take for NFL this week. I just love what they're doing on defense, and the offense just plays clean football. So it's a bold one, I feel like. Maybe a bit early. And it's one that scares me because the Lions just haven't made the playoffs, and they, so much can go wrong. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, the blue Kool-Aid right now. So give me the Lions in the NFC Championship.
That's a bold take, and I love it too because I love the Detroit Lions, man. I love the story. I love how scrappy they are. I love just the mentality of the football team. But right now, I'm going Eagles. Or 49ers first, Eagles second, and then I look. Detroit's better than Dallas, man. Detroit is better than Dallas. I'm going Detroit third, man, and then the Cowboys four. Oh, Seattle is in there, man. Seattle is with him. Gosh, maybe Seattle over Dallas too.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I would. That's close. That's close. I think I'd lean Dallas, but I
I
don't
think
know.
there's another team we're low key kind of forgetting about. I think I might be jumping on this too early, but I
I
think
know
the
what you're about to
Rams would
say.
add in Cooper Cup,
Oh,
man,
I
is a
like.
team that we
I
might
like.
need to look out for. I think a lot of people are not expecting that team to really be anything, but now they got actual legit weapons for Matthew Stafford, and the running game has been there in the past, just kind of been struggling these couple weeks. But if they get that running game going again, Puka Nakua can be what he's been all year, and they get Cooper Cup to stay healthy. I think this record for this team, we know how good their coach is and how he can make this defense actually play better than what they are.
Yeah, I love that take. Very good sleeper team to watch this season. So I love
yeah.
that. Interesting, man. I mean, that's a bold one for me to go on the Detroit train this early and to go that far. But I think a Niners matchup in the playoffs, I couldn't see them pulling the upset. An Eagles matchup, I'd still probably pick the Eagles, but I'm trying to be a little bold and a little different here. So if they match up, I'm gonna say they pull the upset and just ride the magical season all the way to the NFC Championship. That'd be fun to watch.
Love that.
Yeah. All right, guys, go ahead.
So mine stems from a game that we talked about earlier as well. After the Patriots play the Raiders at 4 p.m. on Sunday, whose seat will be hotter? Bill Belichick's or Josh McDaniels?
Well, you picked the Pats, so I would
Yeah, I
imagine
did.
you're leaning a certain way. I picked the Raiders, and even though I picked the Raiders, I think they'll win this game. I think Bill Belichick's safe. Me and Christian have talked this all year. I don't think he has anything to worry about. Now the team building philosophy, that's a whole nother discussion, and that may be something that needs to be looked at and had a deep conversation with down the line. But what he's accomplished, I believe he's safe and he has that job for as long as he wants it. And I've been one to voice how much I dislike McDaniels. The whole snafu with the Colts coaching job, I think that was a terrible look for him. And no matter what he's accomplished as a offensive mastermind since, I've never liked the guy. I don't think he's a good leader of a locker room. Vegas always seems to have their problems, locker room stuff, and it's interesting to see this continue, especially when you have good veterans like Devontae Adams. So I'm not surprised. I don't think Vegas has a good year. I think they'll win this game, but I'd be shocked to see McDaniels back as head coach next season.
Man, I think I will say just our division and how bad they wanted the coach there in Las Vegas ultimately, and Josh, he will keep his job just because one, he's knowing that the owner knows it is the Chargers and Chiefs division right now. And I think they know that comfortably, and I think they're going to let him kind of do what he wants with Jimmy G this year, and then he'll say, well, we need some more pieces on defense, but then next year is our win, like our time to win when we get some picks, actual draft picks that are not a waste of picks for the first time probably. But you have to see it happen first before you ever say that with this team at least. But then on the New England side, I'll at least say this. I don't think he's really on the hot seat for a coaching spot in Bill Belichick. I think his hot spot more is in his general manager role. I think if anything, that'll be something he'll lose this season because how I'm saying it right now, I mean, I go ahead and give you my future picks, but they lose against the Raiders, losing against Buffalo, losing against Miami. Then you finally in week 9 get to play the Commanders. So I just don't think a win is going to be in this team's future anytime soon with how one bad Mac Jones is
Yeah.
playing and how the defensive units kind of took in a toll. So I just think Mac Jones, not him, just Mac Jones, but Bill Belichick can say, hey, new offense, didn't go how we expected. I lost all my pieces on defense. So, I mean, I wasn't doing nothing offensively for us not to win. This was, y'all brought Bill O'Brien saying Mac Jones was going to get better. But, I mean, if anything, he's maybe gotten worse, you can argue. So, I just think if one of them do get fired, I don't think it'll happen this year. I think this would be more of a talking point next year than this year.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. I got 2 questions for you. So, whose seat is hotter right now as of after Sunday's football game? Win or loss, whoever you think. But whose seat is hotter right now? in your opinion?
I guess Bill. I mean, that seems to be like the media steering it, though. There's a lot of talk, as I mentioned, or in the NFL landscape right now, and cross talk shows that Bill Belichick could actually be on the hot seat for the first time in a long time. I don't buy into it, but just off of what you're going to hear in takes wise, I don't think Vegas had expectations or have the history that they do to garner that type of hot seat for McDaniels.
What you think, Christian? Whose seat's actually hotter?
Man, I'm gonna say McDaniels before I say Bill Belichick.
Okay.
Just because, man, we've seen this guy have multiple coaching jobs at this point. Bill Belichick's only had 2 coaching jobs, and then
Yeah.
I mean, one of them's really was.
Brown.
I mean, he's been had for a long, long time. So I just think for something like that to actually break down, you're going to have more than just one terrible season. But I will say for Josh on his side of things, I mean, we've seen teams move off of him very quickly and him move away from teams very quickly. And we're kind of hearing that, like, you have, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, a lot of their key players are coming out and saying, hey, I'm here to win. So you got to think, one, when this is free agent time or any of that, it's going to be harder for this team maybe to get some of that talent. And maybe ultimately, if this year doesn't go like they want, they're going to lose a lot of talent also. So then that's just going to make his seat hotter as a coach.
Yeah. All right. And so the other question is, you mentioned Bill Belichick maybe losing his ability to play the role as GM, like bringing someone else in. Okay. So that being said, do you really think Bill Belichick would like that to happen, where he could just go take over the Washington Commanders, for example, after they fire Ron Rivera completely and have full control?
So you think the question is, would he rather give up his GM spot and stay in New England, or just
Go
seek
get full
somewhere
control
else,
somewhere else, because
like
he'll get a
Washington?
job if he wants it. Yeah.
So go the Brady route. um, I don't know, man. I mean, we never thought the Brady New England relationship would end, and we thought that was as sound a relationship as there was in football. And we think the owner with Kraft and Belichick have the most sound relationship between an owner and head coach in all of football. It's the NFL, man. Crazy stuff can happen. So I think if I had to lean one way, I'd say he's so comfortable at this point in his career, but at the same time, like he wants to win. I think it'd have to be a job more surefire than the Commanders. Like they've got the pieces and the capital to make stuff happen, but I think it'd have to be something he's like, okay, if I'm leaving, I know I'm about to have success where I go. So for that reason, I'm gonna say he would more so lean staying in New England.
All
Yeah,
that success he's having.
my thing is kind of funny, but we talked about both of these teams just a minute ago. What if both head coaches get fired, then ultimately Bill Belichick go join Tom Brady in Las Vegas? I mean, I think that'd be crazy enough. Not going to happen, but I kind of agree with what Chase said. If he goes somewhere, it's going to have to be to a great team, a good team that's kind of already ready to win. But I mean, you look across the league; those teams look like they're keeping their coaches for a while now, and then the teams that are in the middle of the pack, I just don't see him gonna be able to come in there. If the GM is a problem and a role that he wants to keep, a lot of these teams are not going to be open to a coach being their GM. So that's just never heard of until New England did it with Bill Belichick.
I think the Commanders would be that team that would allow it, honestly.
Well,
but
they've had shaky ownership for so long. I don't question anything out of the question for them. So good questions, Brian. I enjoyed that take. Christian, we'll let you finish us off here as we wrap the pod up.
I'm gonna stay in like a coaching thing and way. It's just I'm gonna go with a team in my division, the Denver Broncos. I mean, they're not doing what they thought they were going to do. They're stuck to not just their coach, they're stuck to also their quarterback for the next 2 years, or at least this season and next season, I guess would be a better way to word it. So just, I mean, as a Chargers fan, I don't know what they're going to do. If they keep losing and have a high draft pick, I mean, nobody's going to trade for Russell Wilson, I think, at this point. And if it happens, I don't know who would do it. So just, I guess moving forward, if the Broncos keep going in this direction, what do you kind of expect to see out of this team, which is already releasing both edge rushers, already talking about trading players away? And then you have also media guys now like Steve Smith talking down their wide receivers. So just moving forward, where do you see this team kind of going?
Well, I'll start us off here. And if we talked about dysfunction in the Washington ownership, I don't think there's one team in the NFL right now more dysfunctional than Denver. I never liked this Sean Payton hire. I've always thought he was a little overrated as a coach. Truthfully, that's me. I thought he got carried by Drew Brees a little bit. So I didn't like the hire. Uh, he's scheming a few things, and Denver's not playing terrible offensively, but the team building philosophy is so lost and behind all the other AFC West teams and AFC contenders that they're stuck in money, in ownership, in coach, and quarterback, and it's all on fire. So I think they'll get a high draft pick and burn it down very soon. With a new head coach, I'm not sure. I think I'd lean Russ being the one let go, possibly traded for scraps if they can get anything or even cut. I would not put it past them. And just hope that Sean Payton could turn the next quarterback into something if I had to pick a direction they may go. But I'm not confident that they will even muster that type of formula and success with whoever comes in, honestly.
Yeah, so I think if you look at Denver's roster, they actually have like young talent here and there. They're not a completely depleted roster. They just have some major holes in their team. Like right now, cornerback depth is definitely being tested. Secondary depth in general is being tested. They are the 32nd ranked passing defense in the NFL by a large margin, and they're also 32nd in run defense now. Part of that is the 70 burger that got dropped on them, but that isn't all of it. They have lacking players on the edge that can stop the run. They have people inexperienced in the corner room outside of Patrick Surtain. So I think honestly, what's going to happen, in my opinion, is they're going to keep rolling with Sean Payton, and they're going to get pawn Russ off on someone else. And this Denver team is going to be looking to retool, not completely tear it down and rebuild. Is kind of what I'm thinking. I don't think they will break it all the way down. They just hired Sean Payton. I think they're going to have a nasty divorce here between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. I think they're going to get rid of Russell Wilson. You could tell the body language Russell Wilson had the other day after the fumble six right at the end of the game where they were threatening to potentially score. He goes to sideline. Sean Payton gives him an earful, and it's just not a good aesthetic. So that's just kind of where my head is with it.
Yeah, I guess my last question kind of end the pod on is just, so if they do have this record and it looks like they're going to, just me looking at the schedule for the future, just it's going to be a tough, rest of the year for this team. If they ultimately do have, what I would think is at least a top 3 pick, and we've been hearing a lot of buzz out of these quarterbacks coming into this draft class. Just, if you're going to be stuck with Russell Wilson, I guess y'all would ultimately tell me this would be the time, either with your pick, are you going to use that for a quarterback? Then that's when you'll try to get rid of Russell Wilson, or even with that high pick, would you trade that pick and try to build somewhere else and keep Russell Wilson? Just moving forward, what do you think would be their direction on something like that if they have a top 3 pick?
I think they'd be very foolish to trade it, honestly.
Yeah.
And the Broncos, before they acquired Wilson, were very known for using their late first round picks, their mid second, third rounders on a project type quarterback, a Drew Lock, a Paxton Lynch, those type of guys that didn't get a lot of hype coming in, but in the right system, maybe they can succeed. And Denver had pieces. Didn't work out. Those were not guys you build franchises around. I think if they're lucky enough to have a top 3 pick and they have a guy in the upper part of the draft that's worth building a franchise and taking a chance on, take the chance, take the swing, and cut your ties with Russell Wilson. If you want to have him there and mentor that player so he's not immediately thrown in the fire, that's fine too. Maybe one last year to prove himself before you cut the ties. But I think they'd be very foolish to get a high pick and trade it away in hopes that Russell Wilson can once again find it.
Yeah, I think the Sean Payton Russell Wilson thing is going to end. So I think that they're going to be parting different ways. Broncos are going to choose Sean Payton, who they just gave a new contract, and their whole reason for bringing him in was to try to turn Russell Wilson around. Well, it's very clear they're not having any sort of team success. So I'm thinking they get a high draft pick, and Christian is going to be very unfortunate to have to play with Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams in his division for the extended period of time. So that's
You
what I'm
think they
thinking.
get the first? You think they get the first pick?
If they tear it down for real, the Sean Payton Russell Wilson thing goes south quickly, and I think it can. They ship Russell Wilson out of town. Who are they starting as their backup then? And then their defense can't
You
stop
think
the hold. So
I'm not saying that, but it's like Carolina finds a way to win more games. I mean, I believe
Nah,
this is
Carolina will
my
take them.
my only argument to that though is you have a team now with 2 first-round picks, and if Caleb Williams is going to be as good as he is, Denver's going to turn down. Hey, we'll give y'all both of our first-round picks. We take y'all's first pick at the number 1 spot. You telling me Denver's going to turn that down? I don't think so.
Carolina just picked the number 1 pick in the draft. They really going to move off
well,
Bryce
well,
Young after one
Chicago has
season?
their picks. Is my point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Chicago has both of those picks.
Yeah,
So
Chicago
you think
does, yeah.
Chicago ultimately is going to be out of the top 10? I don't. At least at this part of the
No.
season.
I think
Chicago
they will
still be in the top 10.
be better.
So then one of their picks will be, at least to me, I think it would be a number like 3, 4 pick with the Panthers pick, and then their pick will be a 9th or 10th pick. You go to Denver, hey, we want the first overall pick. Here go the 4th and 10th pick. We appreciate y'all.
Denver, you think
And then
Denver
they
would
move
give
on
it?
from Justin Fields. Or they can even include Justin Fields in that deal.
I think
Justin Fields and both picks.
I think they'd
They're
pick Caleb
getting
Williams over Justin Fields in 2 picks. That's just my opinion.
I think if Denver lucks into the first pick, I think they're 100%. I think whoever gets the first pick, unless it's like Carolina or something, well, Carolina can't. So I really don't know who could get the first pick and not take Caleb Williams, honestly. I just would be shocked, as bad as Denver is.
Yeah. That's my thing. It's just if you do get a Caleb Williams in your Denver, it's going to look to me like what the Panthers have going on right now on their side of things. They're just not ready on at least the defensive side or something. That defense looks god-awful. I don't get how it was a top unit, and then it just falls apart when Sean Payton get there. And then you have Judy and then Caleb or Sutton that's supposed to be something and just hasn't been either this whole time. And every year we hear the same thing about him. So I just think – if anything, it just will look kind of what the Panthers got going on. If they take that number 1 pick, it's just going to be 1 year for him to learn and kind of get killed.
I don't know. Caleb Williams is a different player than Bryce Young. He's a generational talent, in my opinion. I think he's going to step in the NFL and be one of the better quarterbacks pretty quickly. So no matter where he goes, I think he's going to have success. I think he's that kind of player. I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence was when he was coming in. I think he's better than Joe Burrow was when he was coming in. So I'm all in on Caleb Williams hype. I think he is going to turn one of these poor franchises around. And I do not think it'll be the Chicago Bears. I think Chicago is going to win enough games to play out of that range of picks. So,
in my mind, it's Carolina granting Chicago that fortune back. They're the only winless team.
Yeah, right now, I'm thinking you have Denver, not Chicago. Who else? Oh, Arizona. I think it's going to be one of those 2 teams with that top pick, just with how the season looks now. I mean, we can come back and look at 4 weeks and just add a change. But to me, the James Conner injury kind of takes a lot away from Arizona and what they were doing to even have a chance to win some of these games. Without him, I think this Arizona team's a whole different team.
Yeah, I agree. I think, honestly, I'd like to see Arizona get the first pick. I really would.
Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
They'd be shopping him.
Yeah.
Denver could pick him.
Yeah, honestly.
That's their brand right there. Short quarterback,
that is so
that are mobile.
Yeah. Well, I like it. I like this format we got going, guys. Unless either of y'all have any other things, we'll wrap it up here. But I hope all the listeners who have joined us and have been joining us this football season enjoyed this new format we're looking to produce each week. When we recap the game Sunday night, we will be a little bit more detailed in what happened each game. I'm going to break down my Ravens game a lot, as well as the AFC North matchups, and like we did with this preview. And we'll just hit quick notes on all the other football games. And then we'll maybe have a take from the week and a take from our team and wrap the pod up that way. So something to shorten this thing out and get a little more discussion going in these podcast episodes is what we were looking for. And I think we're going to accomplish that. And we're thankful for you guys for listening and hopefully commenting on everything and joining us. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
One more thing. Do you want to go over the game pick rankings?
Yeah, we're going to try to start. Maybe we do that after each recap episode. We'll do it this week because we haven't done it in a while, but after each recap episode we'll say the standings and where things fall right now. Go ahead, Brian, you got it pulled up?
Yeah, I just pulled it up. So far through 5 weeks, we are all doing well, guys. We are all doing well. I think the lowest person is Chase, and he's in the 82nd percentile with 48 wins and 31 losses. Christian's in second in the 90th percentile, 50 wins, 29 losses, and I'm 1 game up on Christian with 51 and 28 losses, 94th percentile. So, we're doing good, guys.
So we know ball, as they say. So,
as the kids say.
as the kids say, right? I love it. I love it. This is going to be fun. We'll work that in after every recap episode before we head into our takes to finish out the pod. As I mentioned, the new format going forward. But again, thank you all for listening. Just be sure to like, comment, share, rate, review, everything, the podcast itself on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as the comments and likes on YouTube and TikTok. That goes a long way to what we're trying to build here. So appreciate all of you for tuning in. We will see you Sunday night for the Week 6 NFL recap. Until then, peace out.
Peace.
Peace.